Okay, this tutorial is entirely for myself because I'm going to forget how to do this because this process is not what I would consider super sane. Mesh Baker Pro is the tool that I'm using. It is very powerful, certainly, but it's also very counterintuitive in a lot of ways. It's very engineering designed. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking in my character, which I've exported from iClone. This is the Richard character from Silent Falls. I've already brought in um, Ellie, who's the main character. Richard is her husband, and she has baked down really well, even with her hair, which is a very high poly count. Richard is a lower poly count, so it should be a lot easier. um, and we'll see how this goes. But first of all, just get the thing in there. The avatars and the bone structures, the bone mappings, those don't actually matter because the original FBX that came from iClone is something where we can handle the avatar definition and redo that later on if need be. So just because we've baked into a dot asset does not mean that we can't redo like the finger mapping gets messed up when it comes from iClone by default. Um, so really what matters is the skin weights on the characters. So I'm going to do basically the same thing that I did with Ellie here, which is I'm going to try and just bring him to the same position that I've got the first Ellie here. And basically I'm doing side-by-side comparison of the different versions here. So we've got this version of Richard, which for some reason part of his ear is see-through. Huh. Um, that would be a mistake that I made in iClone. Oh boy, a bunch of his ear is see-through here. Well, dang. I'm gonna have to go fix that later, but I have a feeling I'll fix something else about him later. So for now, here he is. Poor guy has no shoes. He EMT got woken up in the night. All right, so first deal, make a copy. And then I'm just putting them in kind of similar positions like this. And so basically now I can look at the two of these and compare Richard E2 to combine. This way I can see how they handle the transition, like did they come across correctly. And I've got a test in here for both the face and one for the body to make sure that all the face morphs and stuff work. So if I play right now, these should work identically, and we've got an insane number of batches here. So I mean that's working pretty well. And obviously they're identical. So now I've got this mesh baker object. Just going to go ahead and delete that. I'm going to add in a new one just to do it from scratch. So mesh baker, call it. And then we've got to add a texture baker for MB3 one. MB3 texture baker, and then MB3 mesh baker after that. And good Lord, look at this thing. It's ridiculous. All right. So All right, open tools for adding objects. That's what I want. Click that and this thing comes up. Search for meshes to add. And then I click the root of what I've got, the one I want to combine. And then say, don't exclude that. Yes, exclude that. Using material and all that jazz doesn't matter. Add selected meshes. I think it does children too. Good. 8 objects. All right. He's a lot less. She had 11 objects. He only has 8. He's got a lot fewer polys too. Okay, so now we've got this objects to be combined thing here. Now we've got to make a texture bake result here. And so we've got to make a material. So what I'm going to do is come under here, create a new folder that I'm going to call Richard. And this is, I think I'm supposed to make a material, if I recall. Richard baked, we'll call it. And yeah, sign that right here. No, wait, I don't create it. I'm gonna multiple combined materials, yeah. I don't care about the out of bounds UV on submesh. You can if you want. Split if they don't fit, sure, but oh, right. One of the things I need to do right now is go in and look at the different types of materials. These things are all sorts of different sizes. Most of them way too large. So his cargo pants, yeah, having that 2048 makes sense. His eyes and so forth. These things I'm going to put down to 256. Eyelashes and fingernails, 256. The cap hair is what goes at the bottom of his hair there, and then these other strands, I'll leave those at 2048, I think. This logo thing, and this is for his wedding ring. I'll set that to 128. It's really small. It's part of his wedding ring. Lower teeth, we'll do 256. This is the other part of his wedding ring, 128. Body, we leave at 2048 for sure. Tank top, do 1024. Toenails, 128. Oh shoot, I just did the tank top. Toenails, 128. Tongue, we'll do the tongue and the upper teeth. What did I do for the lower teeth? 256, right? Yep. All right, so for the tongue and the upper teeth, that will all be 256 as well. Now I've also got a Richard.fbm, bunch of the same stuff in here, unfortunately. So I'm not sure which is using what. So that's just my own messiness. So a lot of iterations over these characters. So doing those down to 128. Fingernails. Fingernails 128. These eyes and corneas, they should be 256. May zoom in on those at some point. Fingernails 128. Yeah, okay. Lower teeth. And skin, body, head, tank top. All right. Toenails 128. Tongue and down 256. And then the tank top right here, 1024. All right, so this thing will listen to those. So now, max atlas size, 4096, max tiling bake size, 2048, horsepower of 2 atlas, yeah. Blend non-texture properties, that can be helpful, but I don't really care right now. Although I do have diffuse color, so yes, actually, I do want to do that. If I use the Mesh Baker Text Packer fast, it bugs out on the normal maps, so I need to keep it with just that. Custom shader property names, I don't have any, but it's handy if I did. Build source to put these things in. Texture bake result asset must be set before using separation. Texture bake result. Create empty assets right there. All right, yeah. Baked, Richard, baked. Okay, there we go. So create empty assets, that created that thing. Now what I need to do is click this, and this will generate the materials. It doesn't put anything in them, but I've got 4 materials. Let's see why. Okay, so we've got one that's opaque, and it's just got the skin in it. That's interesting. We got 2 opaque ones. Oh, the normal map strength is really different, I guess. Maybe that's the problem. Either way, we're bringing him down into 5 meshes, which is not something I'm real worried about. We have the cutout for the shirt. It's got holes. Fade for the eyelashes. Opaque for the fingernails and stuff. Why am I getting so many? I'm not happy about that. All right, let's try not blending power of 2 property or texture properties. Let's try this again. Same deal. All right, let's not split if there's too many. Let's try this again. Okay, so yeah, should only be 3, and the reason it's doing it this way, it's not because of the non-texture properties, but because of the size of the textures. So cargo pant, diffuse. Oh, that's should be fine. 2048. What's the problem? And I can do this at 1024. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just his pants, and they're not that close. So in the skin of his body, that should be 2048. Skin of the head, same deal. Fingernail. Like, okay, that's all coming from Richard FBM. Should be 128. So I mean, this should be if the textures don't fit, split. But sure, what? I swear. The head is taking up that entire one? That doesn't make any sense. And then the body, and then all that stuff. Max atlas size of that, mixed texture, tiling bake size, atlas padding. That's probably what it is that's messing this up. That's exactly what it is that's messing this up. Interesting. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of that, and we're just going to pretend that this is going to not care. It's going to downscale it slightly, I guess, but I don't really know. Tell you what, I'll do this. Do 2040. 2040 is that. Blend non-texture properties. Split if they don't fit. Let's see what happens. Still doesn't fit. Well, gee. All right. No split if you don't fit. All right. We're just going to do it this way because I did it that way before and couldn't see any difference. So I'm about to pause it. Basically, we hit bake materials into combine material, and then it's going to take a while. Oh, whoops. First of all, I got to do this though. Got that back. Now I can hit bake, and now it's going to do this for a while, and I'm going to pause. Okay, at this point, it's been like 5 minutes, and they've been baked, and this is what happens, and this is normal. The normal maps here have been set to be imported as regular texture 2D, so they could do the blending, and then they weren't set back. I will fix that in a bit. However, while it was doing this, I decided to go ahead and re-export from iClone Richard with his holes fixed up in his ears. And so I'm going to try and merge that in because I don't think the UV data has actually been altered on here. I think it's just been stored in the material map. So we'll find out. So it automatically asked me if I wanted to fix these as soon as I brought in the new Richard.E3 instead of the Richard.E2. I'm going to try something crazy here. I'm going to see if simply pulling in for his base body, if I pull in his mesh from here, I wonder if this is going to flip out. Nope, because it's an identical topology. It's just got a few extra polys there. It shouldn't make any difference with much of anything. You can see it fixed. There was a hole by his eye as well. All right, let's see how this does. I am imagining it will be doing okay. Let's, I guess, test this out like this before we go any further. So, I mean, this replaced his entire body mesh, but the skeleton weights are still clearly happening because his neck is moving and so forth. The morphs are what are being used here, or the blend shapes. Yeah. Okay, so now we've gotten to this point. This stuff's all been baked. We have these materials. Did not mean to double click that. We have these materials which have been baked down. That all looks good to me. They're baked down based on the material properties, and they'll fit because I'm told it they had to. All right, so now I'm going to generate the output mesh. So I do want blend shapes, normals, UVs, tangents. Yes, don't need UVs other than UV1. I'm not light mapping a character. There's no colors on this character. Output, I'm going to bake into prefab. It needs to be a skinned mesh renderer. Definitely do not optimize after bake for the really high quality sort of animations, which that was just a test of the morphs there, but some mocap type stuff, you're really not going to want to have it handled that. you're really not going to want to have it optimized because it will really reduce the accuracy. You can't do the keyframe optimization either. Okay, so at this point, we need a combined mesh prefab. This is one of those other weird things. I think I actually just hit, create prefab, and we'll call it, actually, I don't think that works. I think what I need to do is have an actual game object, because the prefab would just be absolutely empty. So Richard Baked, just create that, drop it in, drag it into the folder, and then do not drag this one over there. It'll flip out. You have to drag the prefab version, not the instantiated prefab version from the scene. So, all right, now we're gonna hit bake. This will go very fast. Because this is just working on the mesh using the existing stuff from the mesh, from the texture baker. The texture baker is the slow part. That takes like 5 minutes. This mesh baking, I'm actually surprised it's taken this long. There may be something else chewing on my CPU at the moment. Doesn't look like it, but there we go. All right, so that's done. So now under Richard Baked, we got Richard Baked Mesh. You see he's got 22K verts, 34K tries, 3 submeshes, 1 per material, 75 blend shapes, the UV, the skin. We're good to go. Now we've got this thing up here. I'm gonna switch over to the scene here. All right, so we've got, and yeah, he's really shiny. It shouldn't, this is bad lighting for him. He's meant to be in more dim areas. Anyhow, these are both the old versions, I believe. And so what I want to do, so I've got these 2 copies in the scene. It's kind of weird. Because I had this one in there from before, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that because that's way off somewhere. We've got this one, that one's way off also, which is interesting. I don't know. It does a few weird things though. For one, there's no mesh assigned, so we drag that in. And boom, now the mesh is in there and they're perfectly overlapping. So hence the Z fighting going on there. Now at this point, I need to get the bones. This is one part that tripped me up before. The author of the asset was saying whatever it was you brought the bone root, whatever it was you combined, take the bone root from that. Don't make it copy, but actually just steal the one from the pre-existing mesh and assign it on over. Now, this the next thing. You'll notice that he's not appearing. I don't know why it's doing this. I mean, I know why it's not appearing, but I don't know why it chooses to put the bounds off. The extents are at -9 and so forth. So that's the extents of the mesh. So that definitely is not something you want. You're gonna want to pretty much center the whole thing and then make it substantially taller and raise it up a little. And depending on your needs, you can be more or less precise. You can come back and change this later, it doesn't matter. But basically, if he's not, if there's a piece of him that's not in this box, then he won't be shown. All right, so this is now my my new version that has almost nothing on him. There's an avatar from this guy, the original, and I'm going to be using that avatar still. The face animation test and all that is still in here. I'm going to apply that. So now this guy should animate just fine, assuming all went well. Okay, so he moved way off for some reason. That's interesting. See if this is a root motion thing. All right. What you doing over here, Richard? So I'm not sure about the updates here, but he looks correct and he's doing the right thing. Now, one thing to note here under stats, we've got batches 63. So if I hide the original, our batches go down to 14. If I hide the new one, to 52. So he's properly batched. He's calling more than one. He's causing more than 3 batches because of his what's it called? It doesn't matter. I'm perplexed by this part here. Let's do this. Let's take him out of the scene and put him back in, because really that is where his location is. It was set to way over there somewhere. So we'll take him out and we'll pull this back in, and there, maybe. I don't think that's gonna work either. Yeah. So this is probably it right here. Yep, that's what it is right there. Bones were offset. All right, so yeah, clearly something to watch out for. So now he should oh boy. Now he should render where I would expect, because he's snapping to the bone. It's backwards. I'm backwards. I'm not sure which direction is up. Normally that would be Y, but I don't think that's the case here. Guess it is. I mean, 180. In this particular case, actually, it's the all right. So now he should stay backwards because we made the mesh and the bone. Yep, good. Mesh and the bone both match. So now, you know what? I can unreverse him this. Whoopsies, that's not good. All right, 0, and then 0, and now we should stay forward, maybe. Dang it. All right, well, for the sake of appearances, and so that he matches what I think he's going to match to this, and so he'll line up now with whatever I do with the outer, and he can still use root motion and all that jazz. When you start doing all these merges, and if you don't have your game objects in the exact same position when you create the prefabs, like if they've got a different rotation or position, then you will create a few headaches for yourself, and that's what has happened here. But beyond that, it's really not that bad. But yeah, now he's baked. Now he works. I can hit apply on this. I've got a good prefab that has a reference to an avatar that works for him, and both his blend shapes and his skeletons are over. All right, thanks for watching. That's way too long of a tutorial, but at least I remember how to do it now.